Greetings, viewers! Nanada here, and it's time for another video where I demonize another content creator, or as I like to call what I do, a commentary. Today my target is one Dr. Crafty, a YouTuber with a sexy a YouTuber who does quite a bit of animation on his channel, as well as some top 10s. A few days ago, he and his co-host put out a video talking about what they consider the worst characters in Sonic, and I took a bit of an issue with their number 10 spot.
Wait, what? Really, Talk? How can you hate on such a fellow mad scientist? Especially one with such staying power as Dr. Eggman.
Well, it's not the fact that I hate Eggman per se. More specifically, I hate this particular iteration of Eggman. Let me explain my reasoning. Modern Sonic games have all shared similar formulas. Eggman finds a supernatural entity, attempts to exploit it. It's either too powerful for him to control, or it betrays him, and then he swoops in at the end to act as the final boss when the primary threat is defeated by Sonic. He's just not a major player in most Sonic games. At best, he's a contributor to an inciting incident.
That's a fair point. It does sorta undermine your menace as a villain when you're always getting someone more evil to do the work for you most of the time.
See, if it were up to me, I'd want Eggman to be something more like SatAM's Robotnik. He had his goofy moments, sure, especially when defeated by Sonic, but there was so much more menace behind his design and personality, and unabashedly wicked to the core. Not to mention his villainous efforts are at the forefront of his scheme of a mechanized conquest.
So with that said, it's more so that this version of Eggman is busy yoking it up to be taken seriously at all. It's why he's kind of low on our list.
Eggman always does the same gimmick in every game, does he? What about Sonic Colors? The entire plot of that game is that Eggman claims to have turned over a new leaf and built an amusement park, as an apology for his past actions. But in reality, the park is more of a front for his scheme to create a mind control ray, and has been using the aliens known as Wisps as an energy source for his machines. Eggman is the main villain for the entirety of that game, and there is no sign of anything supernatural going on. There's also the plot of Sonic Riders. Eggman owns a Grand Prix as a front for his goal of stealing the Babylonian treasure, which he feels will help him conquer the world. Eggman isn't the final boss of that game. It's the ancient Babylonian Guardian. Now, I will agree with you using Chaos as an example of supernatural creatures that eventually turn on Eggman, since it did start out subservient before rebelling. But Mephiles the Dark and Infinite don't really count. Mephiles never served Eggman. In fact, I couldn't find a single cutscene from that which shan't be named where he and Eggman so much as interact. If anything, Mephiles is more associated with Shadow, due to having used the Edgehog Shadow to resurrect himself and give himself a physical form, as well as taunt Shadow several times throughout the game. He's also more associated with Silver, since he tricked him into thinking Sonic would be the Iblis Trigger. The only thing really linking Mephiles and Eggman was that Eggman wanted the Scepter of Darkness that housed his spirit. You're aware of Infinite's backstory from the comics, where he started out as a simple assassin. There was really nothing supernatural to him until Eggman fused the Phantom Ruby to his chest. You know, the same Phantom Ruby that allowed Eggman to create duplicates of Zavok, Chaos, and Metal Sonic. Yes, Infinite possessed incredible powers, but I think it could be argued that that was the Ruby, not Infinite himself. And unlike Chaos, Infinite never turned on Eggman. There are scenes where they argue, and the game leads you to believe that Infinite is going to turn on his boss. But no. In the end, Eggman decides that Infinite has failed him too many times, and simply disposes of him, using the remaining power of the Phantom Ruby to strengthen his duplicate army and power one of his machines. I'm also going to throw the Babylon Rogues into the mix here. There was nothing at all supernatural about the Rogues, nor were they Eggman's henchmen. Jetwave and Storm were simply sponsored by Eggman as the team to beat. The trio didn't trust Eggman, and even discovered his real motive for the Grand Prix, but went along with everything due to having developed rivalries with Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails throughout the game. In the end, Eggman betrays them after Jet is able to summon the Babylon Garden. You say you wish the modern Eggman was more like Robotnik from SatAM. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the entire plot of Forces is that Eggman finally succeeds in conquering the world after Sonic is beaten by Infinite. Hell, going to the IDW comics, Eggman is responsible for the metal virus that turns anyone infected into a mindless robot, similar to being roboticized. And due to how quickly the virus spreads through physical contact, and how far the infection spreads so quickly, it basically turns into a pandemic, or at least I've heard people compare it to one. Eggman never bothered to create a vaccine, even when the Zombots became less obedient, and when the Deadly Six take over the whole arc, Eggman basically admits he was considering leaving the planet to die. If I could give you a bit of advice, you're free to dislike certain characters, but if you're going to make objective statements about them, go over as much information as you can find to make sure they're accurate. I understand a few mistakes here and there, but if you're going to try and analyze something, it helps to be thorough with your research. This is Night saying, thanks for watching and please share your thoughts with me.